everybody, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia, how you doing?
And I'm Sam Healey. Hello.
Now, we like games a lot, but one thing I think often more than a new game is when there's a game that I love and it gets an expansion.
Oh, exciting.
Cool.
I think that's more exciting because with a new game, you're like, well, I hope it's good.
It might be good,
With
right?
an expansion, usually, well, you already know the game is good, and you're hoping the expansion adds more of what you like.
Unless your favorite game is Race for the Galaxy.
Right, so we're not talking about...
Will it be good? Oh, let it be good.
We're not... there are... I would say for the most part, I have a positive experience with expansions. I usually don't say, there's some expansions that aren't as good as others, but I like them. So today we're talking about our top 10 expansions. And I picked mine in a slight combination of how much I like the original game, but how essential I thought the expansion was. These are 10 expansions which I think you must have if you get like the base game.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I definitely tried to look at how much the expansion improves the game, sometimes even slightly changes the game for the better.
Right.
So that's what I did.
Well, let's find out. I think before we start that I'm going to cross over with Z twice and with you only once, maybe. We'll find out. Here we go.
Number 10.
All right, number 10 for me is an expansion that I just picked up because, and it's the only expansion for that game that I own, which is okay for me, and that is Seven Wonders Babel. Seven Wonders Babel, I really enjoy the extra mechanic that it adds of building the tower that affects all of the players in the game. The other module that comes in it where you have to kind of cooperatively work at these different things, I can kind of live without that. But the Babel Tower, building that up and using it to affect all the other people in the game, I really enjoy that extra level of interaction that it brings to Seven Wonders. So it definitely made my list. It's one of the ones that I knew was going to make my list. I just didn't know where it was going to fall. But that's Seven Wonders Babel, my number 10.
This is certainly an expansion that I like very much. I actually like the other half of it better than the Babel Tower, but I think it's the strongest expansion for Seven Wonders, which is odd because usually games with multiple expansions have diminishing returns as they go on. The first one's good, the second one you're starting to like, but this one is very solid. So good choice. Not in my top 10 though, but great game. My number 10 is a combination. This is my only cheat one here. Sam might get on my case about this, but
Cheese!
It's all the expansions probably for Dice Masters, but I would say very specifically the Dungeons and Dragons one is probably my favorite at this point. I like the Dice Masters. It was a lot of fun. But now that the expansions are here, or, they're all their own standalone set, so...
Cheese again!
That's very cheesy.
No, but I mean, they are expansions to the base game, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's...
What if I said one of my favorite 10 games and I listed all 10 or all 6 of the expansions? That would be problematic. It's just Dice Masters. And I look at them all as an expansion. I don't sit there and go, ooh, how does this play by itself? And I guess I would exclude the Yu-Gi-Oh one because that one was okay. But I do like them all a lot, and I really enjoyed when DC came in the picture because having a Superman, Spider-Man team is a cool thing to do. So
I would call less cheese if you picked like a Marvel or the DC expansion.
Okay, then I'll do that to save myself.
Be okay with that, but I don't know. Mixing Dungeons and Dragons with Marvel and DC just doesn't. That's a thematic
disconnect.
Thematic disconnect for me. That just doesn't make any sense.
I understand that, and I actually don't do it that often. I think I like mixing the superheroes and then having D&D by itself.
Yeah.
But there are some cards, like the basic action cards, which can go in either set. Like, for example, D&D came with a Resurrection card. That works really well for Marvel. It does. So, anyway, Dice Master stuff.
Cool. All right, my number 10 is an expansion, the first one, I believe, for the game Radis. And the expansion is called Pied Piper.
It's a good
and this is the one that really kind of blew the doors open off of the game. There's been a few other expansions after that, the Africanus one and some others.
Yeah, I like that one better.
A bunch of promos. But this one is really the one that said, okay, you have this game, you have 5 or 6 rolls, here's another 12. And it really sort of blew open what you could do in that game, how you could play, where now you could literally make every game a little bit different by saying, oh, we're not going to play with this character, we're going to play with this replacement from the expansion. And it makes the game feel different because you have, basically, 1/5 of the game is totally different, really. So I really like that one. I thought it allowed you to pick and choose and make the game exactly the way you wanted to make it. Play the game you want to play. So Radis Pied Piper is my number 10. I really like that one.
I'm not surprised that you have a Radis expansion, but I just thought Africanus. That would be my choice of those
No, I like
because it added more roles and another board and things.
Right. I actually thought it I don't dislike it. I like Africanus, but I was really happy with the tight board in the first one.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 9.
My number 9 is a little mini expansion that actually works with 2 games and brings those 2 games together in a sense. And that's C3K, which is an expansion for both Cyclades and for Kemet.
And a robot from that Star Trek movie.
What it does is it lets you take the monsters from Kemet and use them in Cyclades, and it lets you take the monsters from Cyclades and use them in Kemet. And that just makes both games better. Now, it's kind of weird because how do you store the expansion? Which game do you store it in? Do you put the games together?
Right.
I play Kemet more than Cyclades. Well, not as much. Nowadays, they're almost even.
Right.
So I store it in one, but I keep both games together. But it was a neat idea, right? You're like, oh, I wish I could use those monsters in this game. Well, now you can. And I thought it improved both games a lot.
It's definitely one of the most, probably will be the most original expansion.
Well, I don't know that I want to see a lot of this fall. I don't want to be like, oh, there's an expansion between these 2 games, and you only own one of them.
Yeah, no, it's a scary precedent, but it's an interesting idea. I hadn't seen something quite like that before. It was really unique.
I really liked it, though. It's a little minor thing, but like in Kemet, for example, I want more monsters. There's like 6, but now there's 12.
Right.
That's just fun.
I want more Egyptian monsters in Kemet.
I'm cool with any kind
I want
of...
more Greek-ish.
Did it break the theme for you? The theme barrier?
It's another thematic blow-up. I enjoyed playing it, don't get me wrong, but, having an Egyptian-looking scorpion or a mummy in the middle of Cyclades, it just is a disconnect.
I guess. I'm more of the Age of Mythology type guy. That works for me. All that mythology can work together.
That's fine. It is a good expansion. I'm not... it's cool to be able to use the extra things. Just there is a little bit of a thematic disconnect there for me. That's all.
All right.
All right, cool. My number 9 is an expansion I'm calling will be on Sam's list at least. And this is for Kingsburg, To Forge a Realm. The expansion for Kingsburg really just brought so much to that game, where you now have all these modules and you get to pick which ones you play with, and you can have a unique power from the very beginning of the game, or have your own unique technology tree. And these are deep changes. It's not, oh, you can now be a new role or something. This is a fundamental change to the game, where you can be completely different, well, not completely, but, importantly different from someone else. And I thought it added a lot. It was one of those expansions that, it's one of the few games that I'll say, if you're buying Kingsburg, get the expansion too, because it makes the experience that much different. I recommend you actually play them together right away. And now it feels like you're not getting the full experience with Kingsburg without it.
I don't know that I would necessarily start out playing. I'm okay with buying it right away with Kingsburg.
Right.
I think you probably should get a couple of games of Kingsburg under your belt first before you delve into the expansion.
And if you're a gamer, I say go for it.
Yeah, but if you're just getting into games and you're just getting into Kingsburg, because Kingsburg is kind of on the light end of the worker placement genre.
Right.
So I would put a couple games under my belt of just the base game before I delve into it. And then after that, I doubt you'll go back to just the base game.
Right.
Is there any part of the... Is there any
worried
modules...
Like someone who's going to play Kingsburg and then be like, it's not... No, play with the expansion.
Yeah, maybe.
Any part I like best?
Oh, is there any part you don't like from the expansion?
Well, there is the one I like the least is the character cards, where you have a character card that tells you like a special power you have. I like the boards better, and I like the strips of power that you can cover up an old one better.
Shut the door.
I don't want to just say it.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, your turn.
Okay.
All right. We have an intruder, but keep going. Number 9.
Okay, number 9.
You know we're recording, right? Okay. What's up?
Interesting. Number 9.
You can't talk.
No!
All right, what's your number 9?
All right, my number 9.
Kept on trucking, man.
Yeah, that was strange. But okay. My number 9 is a another expansion that I just picked up recently. I can't remember where I picked it up at. That
Doesn't really seem to matter at all.
But it's one that I have been waiting for. It's the second time. Wow, Jason's calling.
No, just keep going, man. You're really distracted today.
I believe distractions do that to people.
Yes.
Yeah, just go on. Okay, so your number 9.
My
We
number
don't know
9.
where you got it.
I can't remember where I got it, but it's the second time that's been released. The first one, it was called Style is the Goal or something to that effect. And then now it's just called Stone Age. The expansion.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
This actually made your top 10?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I really enjoy this expansion.
Well, I haven't played it, but I've heard like almost nothing that positive about it.
They're all wrong.
Wow. Okay,
They're
I'm
all
willing to
wrong.
accept this.
And the reason
Have you played
is-
it?
No.
The reason is because one of the main gripes that I hear about Stone Age is what?
Boring.
Shut up.
Random.
About the dice.
It's random.
The dice mitigation, right? There's
I
no
just
way to.
said that, yeah.
I just really and you
I
know
don't
that.
sound like that, but all right.
That's the whole thing. The expansion actually helps take care of that whole gripe that people have about not being able to mitigate the dice, and it's mitigated by being able to take the teeth and the bones that are used as jewelry and and use them, trade them in for some other resources that you weren't able to get.
Okay.
So it helps mitigate. We actually have higher scoring games now. It adds in a few new huts that you can build that are easier to build and give points in different ways.
Okay.
It adds the trader, 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 where you can up the amount of things that you can trade for. You can. It's just there's a lot of different things that get added to it that are positive. They're positive additions to the game. You cannot use parts of the different expansion and just stay with the regular.
So is it
base
modules?
game.
Is it different modules?
They're not.
You don't have to use all of it or none
Correct.
of it. You can use parts
Correct.
of it.
You can use parts of it.
Got it,
yes.
got it.
But there are some specific buildings and the cards that need the bones or the
Got it,
teeth.
got it.
So you'd have to pick and
All
choose
right.
between that. So
I'll accept your
I'm
word on that,
board
I
with
guess.
Stone Age the expansion. Stone Age is one of my favorite games in the
Style
expansion.
is the goal, baby.
Really breathe some better flavor into it.
There you have it.
Number 8.
All right, my number 8 is an expansion for a game I really love. The game is called New Era, the sequel to 51st State, and the expansion is called Winter. And Winter was an expansion in the same size box. They came out with another expansion later, a small one, called Ruins, also very good.
No, I thought it'd be called like spring or summer. Come on, let's keep that.
Blooming flowers. And Winter is a big box expansion. It rewrites a couple of things in the game a little bit. Things like, they wanted to bring back the leaders from the first expansion, which were taken out of New Era because people, they were seen as a little too swingy. And so they were brought back in, but now they're put on a common board. You can buy them from there. They're not shuffled in the deck. And so it kind of rewrote a couple of things like that, really tweaked the game, made it more strategic, gave it a little more flavor. It buffs it up. It's one of those that if you like New Era and you've seen the cards a few times now, you're starting to learn them, jump on this expansion and it'll liven up the whole thing for you. So Winter for New Era is my number 8.
Cool. What's your number 8? Is it also Winter from New Era?
No. My number 8 is a...
No one has it in their top 10.
My number 8 is an expansion that I will never play the base game without.
That goes for all 10 of mine, but all right.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. Pretty much,
Pretty
yeah.
much for
But
me,
this
yeah.
one, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I will never play Ticket to Ride without the 1910 expansion.
Oh, yeah.
Never. Never,
Yeah.
never, 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 never. The little cards that come in the base game was a... How do I say this
A
properly?
faux pas.
Stupid idea.
Okay,
Mine was classy, mine was in French and everything.
Okay.
But they actually have changed that in recent base games. You no longer get the small cards.
Good. That was stupid. 1910, however, adds not only the new cards, the larger cards that replace the little ones. It also adds
Well, it adds more.
not longest route. Adds most tickets.
Did it?
I'm pretty sure it did.
It did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Adds most.
I mean, I know it
tickets.
added more tickets.
Yeah, and added.
And
more
then it
tickets.
added ways to play over whatever. You could be like, oh, it's just the big cities, or oh, it's just
Right.
this.
Or the
But
mega
if-
game.
Mega game,
But
yeah, whatever.
if only it came with the bigger cards, I would still say it's one of the best expansions ever.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
ridiculous.
That
Like-
is.
I'm sorry. I've got thick fingers, and little cards are my nemesis. I hate the little cards. So
Yeah,
if
but that
you-
wouldn't make it one of the best expansions ever. You literally wouldn't change anything.
Is
if
this
it
your
was just-
list? It's my list, right?
Yes.
It's one of my best expansions ever. If only that they changed the card size and made the cards more manageable for me.
All right.
Period.
Well, this is actually my number 12. But not because of the big cards, but because
More
I like the more
tickets and
tickets,
stuff.
and to me it makes it a complete game. Now in the original game it was way too easy to know kind of a general gist, okay, there's only 3 tickets I go to Las Vegas or whatever.
Right.
With all these tickets, there's a lot more variety, and I think the game works just that much better for it. And I agree with Sam, I'll never play the game without it.
Right.
All right, my number 8 matches one that Z already said, and that is Kingsburg to Forge a Realm.
Ooh.
To me, again, this is an expansion that is necessary for the game, and I agree with Z. I will not play without it. I will teach new people. I don't care how new you are to gaming with it. In fact, I threw away the old boards. There's no way I can't play, but with the expansion. Now, I don't play with every part of it. I think the new boards are a definite must. The extra line strip, that I probably won't play with people on their first game through.
Right, sure.
Okay. The events, okay. The tokens, I'm coming around on those. I used to not like them, but I'm starting to see how they do mitigate the luck of the attacking. But the special power thing, that I like also.
Yeah.
The
So-
cards.
Yeah.
It's a character with a power.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, that's a very minuscule.
But all of it is that board. That board just breaks things up. It adds 2 more rows. The 2 more rows just make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Love it, and again, like I said, I won't play without it.
The player powers is probably the most minuscule part of that expansion. That's
That's
one
the one
thing.
No, I think the events are the most minuscule part. I don't care about an event every round.
Right. The events are the.
I don't know.
are
The player powers were lackluster for me.
That's okay. I didn't want them to be super powerful.
Right. Yeah. But definitely for me, it's the events, then those tokens that you'd use instead of rolling, then character powers,
Then the strip.
then the new boards actually, and then the strips.
Oh, you
are
like
my
the strip the
favorite
best?
Thing. Yeah.
I like the strip because it allows you to pick
You be
between 2
different.
things. Right.
Yeah.
It's just that for new people, I'm saying I wouldn't use those.
And,
But-
and that's one of the reasons why I would say that new people should maybe stray away from the expansion, because it does add a very thin layer of complexity to it that isn't necessary to learn how to play it.
if I'm playing with the strips and someone is new, I say, look, if you're not sure, just go with the one that's already printed on the board.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
So, all right, Kingsburg to Forge a Realm.
Number 7.
All right. My number 7 is the expansion, which is called an extension, to Mr. Jack, the first one. They called it Mr. Jack Extension, and it
That's because
basically
does it make the game longer? That's why it's
no,
extending.
I don't know
okay.
why, but it basically, again, it's my kind of expansion where they go, okay, you like this stuff, you like the way it worked, you understood the puzzle after a while. Well, let's destroy that, and now we're gonna give you like 5 more characters, and you're gonna have to swap out a character you already were familiar with, and how to manipulate that among the other characters in the set. You had sort of this like puzzle, this hierarchy figured out, but we're going to throw a new character in the mix and pull one out and really mess with you. And it also changed the setup for the game. Setup used to be set every game. It was the exact same layout. With the expansion in, you can choose, like you actually go back and forth and you put out characters, you set them up however you want to. So it breaks up the beginning of the game as well. And I really think it's interesting. I liked the powers that they put in there. There's no need to teach it to someone new because, I mean, they wouldn't know, really. Because there's nothing extra. You would swap one character out for another one. They wouldn't know which is the original and which is not. But I like it because I played that game so much that I like the variety. I like being able to go, this time I'm going to use the anarchist, and he's really going to mess things up. Or, a spring-heeled guy, and he's going to jump over people. And it's really cool. I really like it. So, my number 7, Mr. Jack Extension.
Okay. Sounds fascinating.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sounds fascinating. Oh my goodness. That sounds like the most boring expansion ever. All right. My number 7, which takes a game that I enjoyed and turned it into a game I loved, almost as much as its sister game, Kemet, and that is the Titans expansion for Cyclades. Cyclades is a fun game. I enjoy it. I like the whole thing, but it felt like there was just a little bit lacking. Apparently, it's Titans that were lacking, or a big giant landmass, or a couple landmasses that you can fight over.
Right.
Wow, did this expansion change the game?
Yeah,
it still has that cool auction mechanism. You still have the different, try to get 4 parts of a city and build the cities, but now you can be like, let's go war, and add it. I don't know how to, it almost doubled how much I liked the game. Wow. It really did. I know you liked it a lot too, for that same reason. Great pieces. You just played an epic game of this at Dice Tower Con. But I love the Titans expansion for Cyclades. Just amazing.
Yep. It's good. Good choice.
That's the second one from Madigo. 2 expansions for one game in a sense. C3K was the other.
My number 7 is a game that is an expansion rather that I don't know. This is probably the one on my list that I don't always have to play it with the base game, but when I use this expansion with the base game, I enjoy the game more. And that is the Pegasus expansion for Battlestar Galactica. And the reason I like it more is because it adds that second.
This is the first expansion.
Yes. Yes, it adds the second. I thought it might have been the second. I thought
Pegasus is
the
first.
Exodus. I thought Exodus came first.
No, Pegasus is first.
Okay. Anyway, it adds the second Battlestar. It adds. I like a lot of the characters that came with the Battlestar expansion. I love being able to jettison people into space. So that
putting them in jail wasn't enough.
Yes.
Let's throw them into space and kill them.
Yes, that's much more thematic flavor. So again, I don't always have to play the Pegasus expansion. I enjoy BSG as a base game, but if I'm going to add an expansion to the game, that's the first one that I pick because it's. I don't know, it just feels like more Battlestar Galactica. I really did not like Exodus because it added it was one of my least favorite parts of the show, I guess you could say.
What's Exodus?
Exodus
is that the thing where they go to that planet?
Yeah.
That was
came
the
in
best
same
part of the
box.
show.
Are you kidding me?
Wait, but that came in
So boring.
But that
No,
came
when
in
they
the same
escaped, that
box.
was so exciting.
Oh, when they escape, I guess, maybe. What?
That came in the same box.
No, not Exodus. Exodus had that. Yeah, that was also an Exodus. That was a part of Exodus no one uses. Everyone's like, oh
that's the part that
yeah.
everybody's like, oh yeah, this garbage
Right.
changes the end of the game
Yes.
for a while, so
Right.
no one used it.
Right.
But having Pegasus
Is
as
cool.
the second ship is what everybody does and
Right.
characters and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, I agree with you actually. I mean, I don't like BSG nearly as much as both of these guys, but when I played it, I enjoyed having the Pegasus also because it was just awesome to be like, I'm moving over here and letting all the guns fly, and it was just like, boom, 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 boom. You really could blow stuff out of the sky.
Yeah, you felt a little bit better about the game overall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Number 6.
My number 6 is an expansion for a game that both Sam and Z hated on first sight, and so I don't think they ever played with this expansion, but this expansion made this game go from a game I was like, I like it, to in my top 100,
Innovation.
and that's Echoes of the Past expansion for Innovation. Yeah. Innovation is a great game. It's a pretty cool game, I guess, but the Echoes of the Past, to me, made it great. First of all, not everything was set. Not every card's used in every game. So you can't count on different technologies showing up. Secondly, it added some really cool mechanisms. This whole foreseeing, I have a technology that will show up at some point. I can see it ahead of time, and you can build towards that point. Other ways to buy and get things. Whatever. I don't care what these guys say. I love it, and it's amazing. I still haven't even played the second expansion, mostly because it's not the easiest one to get. But the first expansion, Echoes of the Past, made innovation so much fun, and I love it. Your turn.
Okay.
Don't care.
My number 6 is an expansion that I have recently talked about on one of my solo reviews. And it is for a game called Memoir 44, and it is the Operation Overlord expansion. And the reason I picked the Operation Overlord expansion from Memoir is because I love how it took a 2-player game and made it a 8-player game. I think you can...
Well, technically you could have done that from Memoir itself if you had 2 copies.
Okay, if you had 2 copies. But a lot of people don't do that.
Okay.
So and they also had a PDF file that you could download before the Operation Overlord expansion came out, called Overlord, only that allowed you to play Overlord style. But the expansion gave you a new set of cards, gave you little chits, cardboard chits that would stand in for some of those troops that you may not have had yet, depending on how many expansions you had already bought. And that's one of the things that being able to play the Overlord style, the epic grandeur of that theater of battle, I guess you could say, is what put it in number 6 on my list. I love Memoir to begin with, but Operation Overlord, I think, really makes it shine.
All right. I'm starting to wonder if we're going to have that crossover I thought we would. All right, Z.
All right, my number 6 crossover. Cyclades Titans.
Yeah, I knew you'd pick that because you like that expansion a lot.
Everything that Tom said is right. I think it at least doubled my enjoyment of the base game. It gave me what I wanted in the original box, which was points grab, yeah, but smacking armies together for it. And then the first was like, you have basically everything, and then you went, win. And in the expansion, you really get to have some major battles. So
I don't think it made the game that much longer either, though.
No.
It's still good length.
I think it shortened it up a little bit. Because you don't sit there turtling so long. You're in each other's face right away.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's my number 6, Titans for Cyclades.
Woo!
Number 5.
All right, my number 5 is a game for an expansion for my favorite game of all time, and that is Twilight Imperium 3, and it is the Shards of the Throne expansion. Reason I picked Shards of the Throne expansion is because while the other expansion, Shattered Empire, gave a lot more to the game, there's a lot of that we don't always use all the time.
Okay.
But there are aspects of Shards of the Throne that we always use. For example, and I know it's very small, but the flagships.
That's not small. That's amazing.
I know. It's just one piece, though. It's one piece and one card for each of the races. I understand that, but it's a very small part of the expansion. I will never not use the flagships. There's no reason not to use them. Another thing that came with it were the 2 race-specific technologies.
Yeah.
Those are very cool. It gives you the extra option. They're more expensive, but they're very cool little twists to the game. And I actually won my first game using one of those Nova Seed. I got to make a whole planet go supernova. Yeah!
You gotta admit that does sound cool.
Sounds
Too bad
cool.
for those people, though. Thanks a lot. Terrorists.
I cleared off the planet first.
Oh, okay.
I cleared off the planet.
That sounds
So
like
we
that.
were...
That's spin.
But anyway, I actually on my short list had both Shattered Empires and Shards of the Throne, and I knew people would probably cry havoc if I included both of them. So I chose Shards of the Throne for those smaller reasons.
All right. Well, actually, those happen to be my 14th and 19th favorite expansions. I also picked that one as the better of the two. The first.
All these just Okay, never mind.
Okay. Well,
Breakfast.
I just talked about them. That's why I remember what numbers they were.
He's had a thing on going on for breakfast.
I know.
But the reason I like that one better, you're right, the first one adds more, but the flagships and the race-specific technologies, and then the mercenaries. I like the mercenaries too.
The Ghosts of Cruise are also a cool race. I like that.
Oh yeah, really cool race. And that's the new race you use, the Embers. I think those are from that expansion too.
They are?
Yeah,
Embers
the
are
guys
from-
the guys who could
thought
use
they
the
were
War
from-
Sun, I'm pretty sure they're from the newest
I
expansion.
thought they were from Shattered Empire, but okay.
All right, what's yours?
All right,
Probably
my
the same
number
thing.
5 it's close.
Same thing.
King of Tokyo Power Up is my number 5.
It's similar.
Yeah, it's very close. And again, it just like Sam's expansion there, it gave each race, if you would, a their own powers. You know? Anyway, I really like Power Up. I try to play without it unless I'm teaching someone who hasn't played. Because again, it gives you a little more to do, and it gives your monster. It makes that choice of, hey, which cardboard piece do you want to be, matter.
Right.
Which I thought was the one thing, really, that the base expansion was missing. It was like, yo, who do you want to be? Does it matter?
It doesn't.
It does matter.
Now it matters.
King.
Now it doesn't, but now it matters with this expansion. So I recommend it if you like the game at all. Check this one out.
Have you played with the drafting powers thing, where you like build your own deck?
No. I like the way you just get your own stuff and that's it. The other expansion that came out, the Halloween one, but Power Up, awesome. Highly recommended. My number 5.
My number 5 just won an award for the best expansion of the year from the Dice Tower, and I didn't vote in that award, but I would have voted for this one, Tuscany, for viticulture. Tuscany adds 15 modules?
Something like that.
Oh, half of which are really, really good, and almost all of which I never play without now. There's a brand new
Is that all
board.
of the 15 or all of
No, all the ones I like.
all of the half?
The half.
Okay.
Yeah, it felt like the 15, as you went like, ooh, wow, cool. Oh, these they just added to fill out the number. That's what it really felt like the last ones were.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter because there was so much other stuff in that box. It added seasons. The original game was spring and fall. Now you had spring, summer, fall, and winter.
Right.
And wow, did that change the game. It added extra people. It added a very small thing, the mamas and the papas, which gave you a different startup than everybody else. Just all these really cool aspects. I loved it all. I liked Viticulture 2nd Edition. This makes it in my top 100 games. Easy. And it's because of Tuscany.
Right.
That's how much I like that expansion. Amazing.
Number 4.
I am going to assume that this expansion is going to be higher on at least one of your two lists. Possibly the one on the opposite end of the table. But he may be a purist of the base game, so it might not. But I'm assuming that it will. In the lab.
The other Twilight expansion.
No. In the lab brought Pandemic to the realm that I thought it should have started in.
What game now?
I think you said Twilight Imperium 3.
That's what I thought.
No, I did not say Twilight Imperium 3.
Haven't played.
Pandemic in the lab took Pandemic to the level that it should be at, I think. The On the Brink was okay. In the lab, that extra board where you actually begin to I guess you could call it simulating the work that the what do you call them? Not biologists, but
The lab workers.
the lab workers. Yes, thank you.
I don't know.
Epidemiologists, thank you.
Right.
What they would do, and the virologists, I don't know if they're virologists or whatever. But anyway, the people who work in the lab.
You worry too much about words.
work.
Do you like the game?
No, yeah, I do.
I said no.
To be specific. Yes, I love the game. I love the expansion. That's why it's on my list on number 4. Simulating the work that is actually done in the lab, I just thought added a really cool flavor to the game that was lacking from the base game. So, Pandemic in the lab, my number 4.
I like it. It is not in my top 10. It's in my top 30, I think. But it's a good one. All right, my number 4 is an expansion for my favorite game, and the only one that's on the list of this site, and that's Cosmic Dominion. That is actually the newest expansion, and I felt like Cosmic Dominion was like, they said, okay, we've made a ton of Cosmic Encounter. Now we're going to say, hey, do you love Cosmic Encounter? We're making this expansion for you fans of the game. That's really what it is. They added some more rewards decks, some really cool rewards. The rewards deck was always my favorite little expansion, and here they added another half, which kind of filled it out, made it really cool. But each of the aliens, I mean, when I went through my top 10 aliens, I think 5 of them were from this set.
Wow.
So I have to put it on the top. I love the Joker, the guy's tokens that he can use. There's just so many cool. I like the guy who can force. You guys have made a truce between each other, and I can come in and say, now it's a 3-way. That's his power. You have to make a 3-way deal, which is really neat. And I love the Diplomat. That's who that is. Just so cool. When I did my review, I said it was like a love letter to the Cosmic Encounter fans. I still feel that way. It was designed by like the biggest 3 Cosmic Encounter fans who, when I met them, I felt like I didn't like the game. Because that's how much they liked it.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, I just like it. Sorry. I play it like 10 times a year. Wow, you guys play it 10 times a day. That's pretty cool. But super fun expansion, Cosmic Dominion. Don't like the name because it sounds like it's a crossover between them and Donald Vaccarino, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't actually have any. I really like Cosmic too. It's one of my top 10 games, but I didn't pick any of the expansions because they didn't. They didn't change the game. They're awful similar for one thing. I forget to tell them apart, and I didn't feel. I'm going based on how much these things change the base game, I guess. So It didn't make it.
Well, I really like that rewards deck for one.
Yeah.
And I really like the aliens, so that's why.
All right, my number 4 is an expansion for Pandemic called On the Brink.
Really?
On the Brink is my favorite expansion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow!
And it's the first one. I happen to think
I'm with you. In the lab's better than On the Brink.
I happen to think that they've had that diminishing returns thing where, they had On the Brink was awesome and the lab was really good. State of Emergency was okay. And
Yeah,
they keep
it's more like
going.
this.
I'm afraid it's going to keep... I feel like at the end there, they were like, whoa, this is too cool. Save it for Pandemic Legacy. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
So
That's actually true.
State of Emergency was like, what can we not put in Legacy? All right, release that as an expansion.
Okay, but you have to admit that the On the Brink adds something that no one uses. The terrorists.
That's true.
No one uses that.
But again, I just think the rules, the extra cards it added, it just blew that game open for me. It was a game I already loved. I mean, this was probably my favorite game before any expansion was released already. But that On the Brink expansion just blew it open for me. All the new roles, everything you get to add in there. And I agree with you that that In the Lab is like a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I really like the game, I guess.
You're a purist.
Yeah, I guess.
All right.
I use it every now and then, but I have to be playing with people who have played at least half as much as I've played so that I can be like, all right, let's just play with this so I don't have to go, okay, here's what all these new options you have. It's like it makes the game literally almost twice as many rules.
Okay.
So, On the Brink for Pandemic, my number 4.
Number 3.
Since my fourth expansion is Cosmic Dominion, it should make sense that we go to Dominion. Many of the Dominion expansions are in my top 100, although there's many that aren't even close. But this one, to me, is the one expansion. I get Dominion, I get this one next, and that's Prosperity. Yes, Alchemy. No. Starting to think anything with the word Alka is not that great of a game. Oh, Alchemist is good. Anyhow, Prosperity was the game changer for Dominion. It was like, hey, do you like getting money? Here's more money. Do you like bigger point cards? Here they are. Everything was bigger and better. I liked it. Adding it in, lots of money, lots of cards. It was, to me, it was the most fun. There's a lot of the expansions, Intrigue and such, that have cards where it's like, hey, oh, were you having fun? Okay? But Prosperity is more about me having fun. And I like that in a deck builder. Sometimes I don't feel like mess with other players. I feel like just saying, boom, boom. The bigger money, the bigger points. Wow. Just loved it. Loved it.
Yeah, Seaside was on my short list. I don't have any Dominion expansion.
Seaside is my second favorite.
But
Prosperity,
Seaside would have been in my teens somewhere.
easily.
All right, my number 3 is Seven Wonders, and this is my favorite. I know it's not a lot of people's favorites, but Leaders is my favorite. because I think it took Seven Wonders and gave it direction.
I think you looked at your list and said, I'm not putting those same ones
No,
that
no.
Sam put down.
So I really like Babel too. I think Cities is all right. I like the extra wonders that they had that wonder pack. But leaders for me,
If you put that in your top 10, I
No,
cry
I mean,
foul.
that's ridiculous.
Ooh, 4 more wonders.
but leaders takes the game, which again I think that whole first drafting age, you sort of just grab whatever's cool. You're like, I need some more of that. Sure, why not? And then during the second and third ages, then you find focus. I think leaders gives you focus from the beginning of the game. It gives you something to shoot for, and I think that's one of the biggest complaints that I would have about the game is at the beginning, I don't know what I'm doing. The first stage, who cares?
Well, you could argue that the Babel expansion does that with the Great Wonders, too.
With the building,
It gives you something to focus for.
Yeah. But again, leaders just gives me that personal touch. I thought it was great to be able to draft those at the beginning and really know what you're going for. It blew that game open for me. It blows my mind. I will try to play with it every time I can. I mean, it's not even that complicated. So even if I'm teaching it and they can deal with Seven Wonders, I'll be like, yeah, let's do it with this. So my number 3, Seven Wonders leaders, awesome.
All right, my number 3, 2, and 1 have already been mentioned, so there's that.
Nice.
Wow.
My number 3
Wow, what is your number 1?
is one that was mentioned by Zee already, and that is Kingsburg to Forge a Realm.
Oh, wow, we had a 3-way crossover there.
Yes, we
See, I thought I would cross over with you. I didn't think you'd put it on yours.
Yeah.
So, surprising me.
So, and for everything that we've already said by most of these, by all three of us, we've already talked about it. I'm not going to belabor it anymore. What we've already said, that's why it's on my list. And number 3, Kingsburg to Forge a Realm.
Number 2.
My number 2 has also already been mentioned on both of the other lists. And
Both
that
of them?
is
Wow, you like it that much?
Cyclades Titans.
Nice.
Wow.
I love how it took a good game, Cyclades, and just ramped it up. And I love I had never played it, but I played it with Will Baker at Dice Tower Con with the teams. I never played it that way before, and I really enjoy the team aspect.
So that's 3 teams of 2.
Yes, 3 teams of 2, and as long you can work with one of the teams in our game, they got stuck on opposite ends of the boards, and they were out of the running almost from the very beginning. So there's that aspect to it. You really have to work together well. But if you do work together well, you can usually get it to where your back is up against your allies' back, and you only have one front to fight on.
That's cool.
And that really makes it's a very small change, but I think it really makes the difference with Cyclades. So Cyclades, Titans, and then everything else that everybody else has already said. My number.
I thought that'd be on your list, maybe, but I just didn't think it'd be so high. Wow. All right.
That was an awesome expansion. That just was amazing. All right, my number 2 has been mentioned already by Tom as well. And this is Tuscany for viticulture. And it just, again, it has that, you like the game, here is so much more, you will forget what the original game was. It's that amazing. I mean, to the point that they're like, the board, throw it out. All the money, throw it out. All these cards, throw them out. It literally almost like gives the game a replacement game.
Yeah.
When you're done, you have to try to remember what came in the original box.
Who cares? That's what I'm saying. You never go back.
You never go back. I mean, once you get used to that new board, the mamas and the papas, I love. The money, if you get the one with the fancy money, it's like, oh, it's the best coins. I mean, so, for me, Tuscany, I forget what the whole title is, but Tuscany something viticulture, love it. Amazing expansion.
All right. My number 2.
So amazing, I've never played it. I've never thought to play it with me.
You didn't like viticulture.
I enjoyed viticulture.
All right.
It's a worker placement game.
Well, we'll have to play it with you then.
And then Robinson Crusoe.
That's what they said
My
about
number-
Robinson Crusoe. Every single time. Has it happened yet? No.
My number 2 is one of the expansions for Summoner Wars. Which one?
I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, there's a lot of expansions for Summoner Wars, and I like it. And they just released the Master Alliance set.
I knew you liked it. Yeah.
No, I did like that one a lot. But you know what? My favorite one is the original Master set.
Oh, okay.
Because the new Master Line set is cool. It mixes two factions and it's neat. You know,
Is that an
there's
expansion?
well, it was an expansion / base game, but I mean, it's still an expansion for Summoner Wars, which was already out.
Okay.
But I loved it because it was a box with 8 factions in it.
Right.
And that was just amazing to me that they added, and they were 8 cool, new, different, unique factions. So easy
What I
pick
really
for
liked
me.
about that is that they had they came out and they were like, okay, here's 2 armies in one box, and they're like, oh, and here's 2 more armies in one box. Oh, that's cool. So they might come out with a couple more or whatever, and then it's like, oh, by the way, here's 8 more in a single massive box. It's like, what? This is like the beginning.
That was your intro to the game almost, right?
That's because I liked the game, but I didn't like the paper mats.
Oh, right.
That they came with. No, I didn't like the paper.
I'm just kidding. They're horrible.
So that's really what kept me from buying the game. I really enjoyed the game. I just didn't want the chintzy components.
Yeah.
So when the Master Set came out, that was my introduction. And I'm going to cry foul here, only because, not on you, I'm going to cry foul on Plaid Hat. You should have started with the Master Set.
Well, I don't think they had the money to. It was their first game. They put out a small. That was
guess.
before Kickstarter.
I understand that. However, I think Master Set is the beginning of Summoner Wars, even though it's technically
I think now going back, sure.
You don't have to buy those.
I agree with that, but I mean, they kind of ramped up to that. But if you're getting into Summoner Wars now,
My
Master
only
Set.
thing is Master Set. I have a problem calling that an expansion. I really.
But that's because it wasn't for you. It was for me.
Okay.
All right.
tell them, give them my line. Whose list is this? Tell them.
To the number ones.
And finally, number 1.
It's time to roll. Rolling, rolling, rolling. That doesn't make any sense. 5. Come on, I can still win with a 5.
11.
17.
17.
All right, what's the?
Since mine has already been mentioned, I'll go first, and then we'll just go downhill.
Okay, before we go though, man, I don't know what yours is, and I definitely don't know what yours
You're
is.
not gonna guess what mine is.
That's because it's garbage.
Well, my number 1 is a game that I will never play. Is an expansion that I will never play the base game with.
Oh, I know what this is.
Never, 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 never. There is no reason in my mind that you should ever play the base game without this expansion.
Here, look.
Because, first of all, the expansion came with the character that I always want to play, and that is Panda Kai. So, Being Tokyo Power is my number 1
Number
expansion.
1?
Yes. Because I love how it gives each character their own flavor in the game with those power-up cards.
Yeah.
And you just playing the base game again without those power-ups is like vanilla ice cream without any toppings.
And this is why you shouldn't go out of your way to hunt down the penguin, because he doesn't have a power deck of cards. So who cares?
Yeah. I care not about the penguin, but the panda. I am always Kung Fu Panda when we play.
That's okay, because the king will take out Kung Fu Panda. It's pretty simple.
He will not.
Who do you use? You use the bunny, right?
No, I like the Kraken-looking guy.
So you can do your little...
Kraken, yeah.
All right. My number 1 is an expansion that I never play, probably will never play again, for a game I no longer have.
Okay, wait. This is your number 1?
It is my number 1.
This is an expansion for Duel of Ages.
No.
He has Duel of Ages.
So I don't know.
I have Duel of Ages too, but and it's the same thing for this one. I have the second version of this game, which incorporated this expansion into it. The expansion is Road to Legend for Descent.
Okay.
Okay, and I have to put this as number
I thought
1.
about doing this, but
I liked Descent.
Then your cheese-o-meter went off and you backed off.
exactly
Right.
because it's been replaced by a better version of the game.
Doesn't matter though. This expansion, in my opinion, is the best expansion that's ever come out. Descent was a fine game, except it took 7 hours sometimes. It would have killed you. Yeah, whatever. It was this big
never took
dungeon,
you 7 hours.
and you started at the beginning, and you were like, I can barely lift my sword. By the time you got to the end, you were like, I will destroy you by opening my mouth. I mean, that's really the way it was, but it took a long time. But it also was kind of weird thematically.
Right.
But I liked it, but we hardly ever played it because it was so long.
Right.
This expansion came and made tiny little modules, a campaign system that could be 200 hours long, split into time, over time. It basically made it into a role-playing game.
Right.
You could save your characters. There was ways to level up. They've now incorporated that into Descent, the second edition. It's just automatically in there. But it's because of this expansion. This expansion blew my mind when I played it. I just couldn't believe how much it changed Descent. It took Descent from being a game I liked to like my number 2 for a while. And I still like it. And I credit Descent 2 and Imperial Assault. Both are exist because of this expansion.
Okay. Cool.
So, easily my favorite.
Still cheesy, but okay.
That's not cheesy.
All right, my number 1 is going to, it might seem like a strange pick, especially for those that have not played the expansion, but it's my number 1 because it jumped the farthest from where the game was to where the game is with the expansion. And the expansion is called Elder Sign Gates of Arkham. It's an expansion for Elder Sign, the dice game.
Really?
And Elder Sign was never a very thematic game. You know, you were walking around a museum, finding, I don't know.
That's because it was based on a game that Knizia designed initially with dice.
Kind of, right. And so what Gates of Arkham did is it kind of blew that open and it said, okay, you are out and about Arkham. You now have locations you can visit in Arkham. It replaced the entire deck of encounter cards. You don't use any of that stuff anymore. And you now have places you can visit that when you walk in there, what you encounter makes sense. Like you walk into the diner. There's a shady looking guy sitting in the back of the diner. There's a little, flavor text. And yeah, you roll and try to do whatever. But it just added a huge thematic bridge.
Have you played it?
That was missing. There was this massive gap between, why am I running into this stuff in a museum? It doesn't make any sense. It was weird, It was just a dice game. And this is still a dice game, but the thematic jump is now completes it for me. I will never play without this expansion. And really, it's a different game, almost. But it just works better. This should have been the game originally. Gates of Arkham for Elder Sign is my favorite expansion because, again, it took a game that I thought was all right and made the biggest jump. That's why it's my number 1. It's not my favorite game, but it's my favorite expansion to a game I already liked and now I think is amazing with the expansion in it.
All right. That's a surprise. It makes me want to play that now with you.
Yeah, I do. I've played Elder Sign. I've never played the expansion.
I thought Elder Sign was fine. I didn't fall over myself loving it, but I mean, if it adds
Actually,
theme,
Elder Sign got a lot of hate because all the people who loved Arkham Horror.
well, it got some hate, but it has sold
Whoa, okay.
tremendously well.
Right.
It still sells well now.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
yeah, we'll have to try it. So those are our top 10 expansions. What are your expansions? Are we insane?
Yes.
Was I cheesy like Sam said?
Of course.
Is Sam right for putting a game on his list just because of card size?
Should you be
Yes.
playing a monster in Descent that suffers from halitosis and kills by opening their mouth?
We better end this. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, have a good one.
And I'm Sam Healey. See you on the flip side.
Woo!